Before we get into it, I just wanted to give you guys like a quick background on Kerri, and she's going to, give her background too. But I've known Kerri for, what is it, probably about a year now. With some of the other small communities in the cleaning industry that she works with. And she's an amazing human being, very knowledgeable, has a really good heart. And I know from, just from working with her and speaking to her, that her main purpose is really to help you guys with this stuff. So if you guys are feeling lost, if you're feeling like whatever you're doing makes you want to quit sometimes and just rip out your hair, I do think that what we're going to be talking about today is going to help you guys. And I have my questions, written down. But yeah, Kerri, I'll let you take it away to kind of give a background on yourself, how you got into the industry, a little bit about you, and yeah, take it from there.
Thanks. Thanks for saying such nice things about me. That makes me feel warm and fuzzy inside.
Of course, right?
Everybody likes to be liked. Exactly. Probably many of the people that are watching today probably know me already or have in some way spoken to me or communicated with me in one way or another, because I am out there. I'm all over the place. And like you said, my motivation really honestly for what I do is to help people overcome obstacles to success. And in that, it's not only business owners, it's also the employees that they employ. So what happened to me in my life is, first of all, was that for way too many years, I worked way too hard at jobs that did not appreciate me or that did not value me. And so at a time when I was about to become an employer, I really had to think about what kind of employer I wanted to be. And I actually spent a lot of time, my husband and I, talking about it and deciding if we couldn't be amazing employers, we were not going to be employers at all. We did not want to be known as, the jerk that pays too late and doesn't care about their employees. I worked for people who just threw me into a job and said, do it. And I would. I mean, I had what do they call it? The wherewithal to be able to just step into any position and be able to maneuver it. But not everybody can. And you know what? In COVID, we started to see people with trauma and stress beyond anything that they've ever known or anything that we've ever been able to deal with before. In our history, there's war and famine and gangs and drugs. But this whole trauma that came from COVID has created a difference in people. I just saw it on the news the other day. I was like, that's what I'm saying. On the news the other day here in Canada, there was a big thing about people, I forget what they called it, quitting on the job or quitting while working. And what they're saying, what the employees are doing right now is they're saying, listen, I'm willing to come to work for you for the set hours at the set price, but don't ask me for more. Don't expect more. My mental health is more important than your bottom line, than your revenues. And I've been preaching this already for a couple of years. When I saw that on the news, I was like, that's what I'm talking about. We have to be a better employer in order to have better employees, in order to actually create a healthier community. And so this is what my mission is. My mission is to help all of us from the top down. And, there are so many employers out there who really are thinking old school ways of attracting employees, and it's just not working anymore. And so, my motto, if somebody says they don't want to work, it's not that they don't want to work, it's that they don't want to work for you yet.
How did you get started in the cleaning business, and what was, your background with that?
It's kind of funny because my whole life I didn't want to be a cleaner. I hated it. It started out, honestly, the story goes, when I was 5 years old, my parents split up and I was the oldest daughter. So my grandmother grabbed me by my ear and taught me how to clean properly, quality, detailed cleaning, in order for me to be able to help my father around the house. Because, back then, the Mr. Mom thing was pretty unheard of. So then when I was 14, I worked in a flea bag motel, which was not fun at all, but a really amazing experience, really, when I think back about it. I hated it, but it was what I did. I was pretty excited and proud of myself for having a job. And then in my 20s, I worked for my mother-in-law. And this is when I think the instinct to be an entrepreneur kind of set in. I didn't realize it at the time, but my mother-in-law was grooming me to be able to take over her cleaning business. So she was teaching me client acquisition and how to make systems and routines, how to be a detailed cleaner was something that has really taken me a long ways with my life. The only thing that my mother-in-law didn't teach me was how to be an amazing employer. The reason was because she didn't take her amazing cleaning business and blow it up the way she could have. I mean, she had everything, but she was really timid and not sure about having employees. She was worried about the things that those of us who realize in the beginning, our worries are, what if they steal? What if they don't work well? What if they mess up our reputation? All the things that we really fear until we find out that being a business owner is hard work, and sorry, I shouldn't say nobody, not everybody is cut out for it. She was afraid that they would take her business and run with it, and then she'd be out of business. Now I realize, like, if I could go back and talk to her then, I would tell her, get employees, you've got an amazing business model here. Instead, what happened was her son and I broke up. And so I was no longer in the running to take over her business. And I said I would never clean again. Like, I hate cleaning. So I took a KerriAnne course and I went into healthcare for 15 years, working in dementia care, which I loved. I was good at it. And I felt like I was really doing my part there. This is part of the area of my life where I developed my understanding that my mission is to help people. So with those 15 years in healthcare, I was also a single mom. So I kept working cleaning, and I cleaned for the elderly because I felt like I was doing two services at once if I was doing that. I was watching over my clients to make sure that if their food was rotten in the fridge, I would encourage them to throw it out and things like this. So I felt like I was really helping, subsidizing my income as a single mom by cleaning still. And then came the day, just a really quick snippet, that I was an alcoholic for 27 years. And I quit drinking about 7 years ago now. And this is where my life changed. We decided to move to where I am now in the Okanagan. And I always tell people, the Okanagan is where your heart goes to heal. And that's what I did. I went to the Okanagan to heal. And I said, I will never clean again. And what happened was my stepmom lived in the town that I had moved to. She was the one that introduced me to this beautiful place where your heart heals. She was selling, and she just asked me if I would, come and clean her house before the realtor came. And of course, who wouldn't do that, right? So I did that, and the realtor was so blown away by the detail-oriented clean that she asked if she could give my number to a few of her friends. And I said, I'll do it as a favor to you, but I don't clean anymore. Please don't give everybody in town my number, just only if it's an emergency. And 6 months later, I quit my job, my full-time job, and hired my first employee. And here we sit, going on 6 years now, with 50 employees, and I absolutely love it. Like, I love my cleaning business. I would not have it any other way, and I'm so grateful I did that one clean.
Yeah. Awesome. So you said a couple interesting things in there. And one of the things I've noticed, perhaps some people in this group can relate to this, is that a lot of people, when they start in this industry, I think a lot of people start as technicians and then try and build a business off of that. So, most people, not everyone, but a lot of people do start with the broom and the sponge and mop in their hands, and they're the ones that are actually doing the cleaning. And then, they sort of catch the bug where they're like, okay, well, I can probably build this into something greater, but now the business isn't relying on me directly. I can't be the face of the brand and be the one cleaning all the time. I got to start hiring employees. But what I have noticed is that there seems to be kind of a newer trend, especially with the independent contractor model, which I'll explain in a little bit, or we can definitely chat about that. But where people are actually starting from day one, kind of building a remote cleaning business, right? So they actually have never spent an hour on the fields, scrubbing away and dealing with all like the long hours of cleaning. They're basically building a team from the start and, pretty much operating that way, just being like complete CEO. And I think I have seen that to be more popular with the independent contractor model, especially as of relatively recently. Something else I've noticed is it seems like a lot of the younger crowd that's kind of getting into the cleaning industry is kind of opting for this model. So I guess, what's your take on that? The more of the traditional kind of hire employees, build like an actual company versus independent contractors, be completely remote. What are some of the pros and cons of both models, and what's your take on that?
This is a great question. Thank you for asking it. So, it really does depend on every different person. It depends on your geography. It depends on the pool of employees you have in the area, and it depends on your business model. So my business model is a very deep down, thorough cleaning. You can expect that you're going to get the exact same service every time. And if you don't get the same service, let us know and we'll correct the situation. My employees are they are taken care of with job forms, checklists, 24-hour support from our office. We're very hands-on and specific for our clients. That's my business model. There are cleaning businesses out there who the business model is, you want it clean, we'll come clean it, and there are clients that say, as long as you show up, it's not that important to me how you do the job. You have to match your clients to your employee attraction. So you have to know what kind of service you're giving and follow that route. So where I'm trying to go with this is, I've tried independent contractors in the past, and I've always been left with a bad taste in my mouth. And that is because independent contractors generally have their own idea about the service that they provide. And legally, even, you are not allowed to tell them how to provide that service. You're not allowed to, I guess allowed is kind of the wrong word. There are specifications and guidelines you must follow. And some of the guidelines pertain to wearing your uniform. They're not to wear your uniform. They're not to use your supplies. They are not to use your checklists and forms. You can give them a scope of work, and then you're pretty much just hoping they're going to do it. And when they aren't doing it now, what happens is, what is the motivator to get them to come around to your way of thinking? Now, there are some people out there just like us who immediately will say, oh my goodness, I'm going to fix that right away. I'm so sorry that happened. What I have found is that it's easier to motivate employees through perks, benefits, and bonuses to follow my path or my promises to my clients than it is to motivate a contractor who's, they've taken the contract on for $800 a month. And in their mind, all they have to do is show up, right? If they start not doing the service the way that your clients require it, what is the accountability? How are you going to motivate them to try harder? What if you ask them to take more time to clean an area the client's upset about, and they just tell you to shove it and walk off the job? These are all things that happen so often with independent contractors that I just finally said no more. And then came a day where this beautiful woman with the most amazing eyes, and I think I was mesmerized by her eyes. She had these green-blue eyes, and when she talked to me, I just liked her. I thought she was kind and considerate, and she really is, to this day, kind and considerate. We agreed upon a rate for her to go and clean one of the banks that we take care of. It was great, and I trusted her. And I'd call her and see how things are going. Yeah, everything's fine. So when I went for my 6-week check on the account, I was told that if I didn't get the place in order within 3 days, they were firing us. she said that this contractor would spend 5 minutes, so one day, 7 minutes. I should say I'm wrong. It's 7 minutes. She had 7 minutes clocked. And in my mind, she was only working for 5 minutes because you have to get in the door and get out the door. And in that job, it is a 6,500 square foot bank with 15 offices. And in 5 minutes, you can't even do the garbages. And this was regular for her. So that was when I said, that's it. No exceptions, no matter what. If I like you or not, you're not working for me if you're not an employee. So that's my feelings. Now, I'm finding a lot of clients these days are getting warehouse contracts and kind of dirtier jobs. And in those dirtier jobs, I think that's the place for independent contractors, because the client is not as worried as focus on detail. They want you to come in quick. They don't care how long it takes you, get those garbages emptied, clean up those bathrooms, give the floors a wash, and out you go. In jobs like that, where they just want to know you're there, I think independent contractors are good for that. And then you'll find some independent contractors that go above and beyond, and you might put them on your nicer contracts. You know what I mean? But for me, I just find it so much easier to motivate people to do better and overcome obstacles to success. So I'm helping people grow in their personal life as well, than to have this kind of disconnected relationship with a subcontractor, we call it here.
Right. Okay, great. So if I'm understanding correctly, I think what you're saying is when you go more of a traditional route to actually hiring employees, the advantage that you have is that they're essentially starting from a blank slate. Like you can kind of mold them to match your core values, your SOPs, your procedures. And because they're starting on that blank slate, they don't have tendencies or, like, let's say, bad habits. Now, of course, everyone has to go through a learning process, but I think that's what I'm understanding is the benefit that you've seen from employees is that when you can really build them up to, like, your perfect employee versus maybe traditional independent contractors or subcontractors, they kind of have their own ways of going about it, and they might be a little bit more stubborn or just harder to follow rules in general. Is that correct?
I think so. I also think that they are offended more quickly. Hey, the client has said that, your team is missing behind the toilet in the women's bathroom. It's got buildup. Well, tell them to go clean it themselves then. We work really, really hard there. Like they have this, they don't have the commitment to your client that you have. Their only commitment is to you, and only until they're sick of you. That's how I feel. I mean, I don't know if that's true. I know that there are companies out there that subcontract and are really successful. In fact, I work for one of them. I do the only subcontracting I do. And the only reason that I'm still doing it is because they were there for me during COVID. They kept me going during COVID. And they are wildly successful. In fact, they're my competition a lot of times. They brought us in on a job just recently that we were in talks with. For a mall in our area. We were in talks with them to try and get in to do a consult, and this other company picked it up, and then they called us, and we're going to go to work for them. But,
small world, right?
Yeah, they got an amazing subcontractor when they got us. So it can happen. But
sure,
generally a business like mine, I won't subcontract for anybody else. It's only because I feel like I owe them that I subcontract for them. So generally the good, amazing cleaners out there are running their own business, and they aren't going to work for your wage, right?
Right. Yeah. And I think, to kind of piggyback on what you said too, I think, at the end of the day, it kind of just comes down to the business owner's mind, their vision for the company. If having a team of employees that are wearing, like, your company shirts that you can take photos with together, go to, like, after work events, like go bowling together or get dinner. I mean, you technically could do this with independent contractors too, but more so for the branding aspect, which you're kind of missing from more of the independent remote business model. Like if that's something to consider, if that's important to you, really just building a brand, I think. Or if, like, maybe that's not really a big concern for you. You kind of just want to go through, you want to have, like, a more efficient company, just get people in and out quick, let them kind of take care of everything, do a little bit less training, less SOPs, and have them manage it. Obviously that works too. It's just something you kind of have to balance. And that actually kind of brings me to my next point, which is more so about kind of the tactical things when it comes to hiring. So, I know you hear this every day. I hear it a lot too with the people I speak to, but it's, I can't find workers, right? So there's really only two things that I think can be going wrong. It's either when they say they can't find workers, it either means they're not getting applicants, so that they literally just can't find applicants, or they are getting applicants, but they're struggling to, get them to commit to that interview. Maybe the show up rates are bad, or maybe they are showing up, but the churn rate is just super high, where after their first job, they're walking off the job, or just ghosting like the business owner, which it's really messed up, but it happens more commonly than it should. So, yes. Just to kind of wrap up like this whole talk between traditional employees versus independent contractors, I don't know if you have any experience interviewing, let's say, both types of people, but have you found there to be a difference during the whole process, whether it's number of applicants available, show up rates, ghosting jobs or not showing up? Like, have you noticed there to be kind of differences in both?
Mm-hmm. Yes. Okay. So there's a couple of questions in there. I want to answer the first one first. You started out by saying you think that there's two things that happen when people say that nobody wants to work. The number one most important thing that happens for employers who are not able to get employees is their mindset. Stop thinking it's the candidate's fault. It is your fault. You are the one to blame if nobody's coming to work. That's all there is to it. That's how you're going to change your life. Once you realize that, then you're going to change your life. So stop blaming the candidates. And guess what? We're in a recession. There's more workers than there ever was before. People say that technology is creating a situation in which there's nobody to work. What are you talking about? The cashiers at Walmart that lost their jobs to those teller machines, to those instant tellers or self-tellers, are looking for jobs.
Yeah.
There are so many people looking for jobs, but they're looking for the right employer. So sorry, guys. Sometimes I have to be blunt, and I'm telling you, if you can't find workers, you're doing something wrong. The next thing, yes, the difference between interviewing independent contractors and employees, there is a stark difference. Stark. So the difference is when I'm interviewing employees, potential employees, they are interested in working for me. They want to know about my company and what we're doing, and they want to be a part of my community. When I interview subcontractors, they are interested in money. Money is what is guiding them, and this is why it's so hard to motivate them. They are only there for the money. They don't care about your community. They don't care about your vision and mission. I'm not saying all of them. Of course, there's a few that have these really amazing values that are a great fit. It's just that finding people that are really great core values match with you for your client is harder when it comes to subcontractors, because subcontractors are in it for themselves. So they're going to do and say what they've got to do and say. And honestly, a lot of times I find this with our clients, when they're hiring subcontractors, they just want somebody to say, yes, I'll do it. It's like the warm body syndrome. They aren't thinking too much. If they're a subcontractor and they have their own business, they must be reliable.
Right.
No, they just have, think about it with your children on allowance day. You've got both children out there with their hand out saying, where's my allowance? You've got the one kid who's always going above and beyond, like they're unloading the dishwasher without being told. They are, spot washing the walls. You walk in, you find them spot washing the walls, you ask them why, and they say, oh, I just saw it and I thought I'd take care of it. And then there's the other kid who just expects that they're getting their allowance for the least bit they do. So they're there with their hands out, and this one has done so much more. This one's saying, I did everything on the list, give me my money.
Right.
I find that to be the difference.
Right. I
Sorry,
love that.
you got me on a tangent there. Sorry about that.
Hey, now that means it's good, right? I love that answer though about what you said. I can't find workers. One of the questions I actually wrote, let me show you this. I don't know if you can see, but I mean, it's reverse and I have chicken scratch handwriting, but what I wanted to ask you was when people make that statement, who's to blame? Is it the workforce or is it the business owner when they say I can't find workers? Because, it's easy to kind of make that woe is me mentality. And I know a lot of people, they really are struggling to find workers. Like maybe they are posting lots of hiring ads, they're doing lots of interviews, but there's probably something wrong in their system that is really magnifying those leaks, right?
I really feel like it's something wrong in their mindset. I
Yeah.
feel like what I'm coming across so much is this set standard. This is the way that it's been done for the last 100 years. And so this is the way we must do it. It's opening up your mind and understanding that we have different candidates. We have a different style of required employer. Our employees these days are requiring our employers to be more. So it's a mindset to realize that you've got to change your ways. You've got to find a way to learn and understand what employees need. Life gets so much better. Like before I had that mindset, before I sought out education on this whole system and process and the new age employees, I had that mindset that honestly, I'm going to have to admit it in order for you to understand is that I felt like I own these employees. They asked for something and I'd say, well, like they'd say, why should I? And I'd say, because I sign your paychecks, because I told you to. Why should you? Who do you think pays you? And you think it's easy for me to pay you and all of that jazz that we think when we get frustrated. And then when I realized, hey, I won't have a successful business if it isn't for these amazing employees. These people are driving my success and they deserve all the respect in the world. When I had that mind shift, everything took off for me. I went from 6 employees to 50 in a year and a half. I went from 140,000 in sales to 2 million in sales in a year and a half because I switched my mindset for my employee attraction. I honestly believe that that's all it is a mindset shift. And if we could get more people to understand it, we'll have less struggles. Cleaning's easy, guys. Like teaching people to clean, sometimes not so easy. And I always say, find somebody that cares and teach them to clean, because if they care, they're going to be wanting to learn.
I love that answer.
Thank you.
Of course, I had a similar kind of a similar mindset shift. I heard something very similar, which I thought was genius. I don't know why it took me so long to figure out, but a lot of people that are that come from, like the traditional, they've kind of always grown up to work for the bigger man. Like they haven't really started a business. It's easy for those people to look at their boss or any bosses and think that they're selfish, right? Like, oh, the boss just wants to make all the money. They're hiring these employees just so they could get richer. But the reality is the boss has so many responsibilities in now having, 12 employees, 20 employees, 100 employees, whatever it is, that they have to, pay payroll, put food on their table. They have the bigger responsibility. It's not, it's just that kind of limiting belief, I think. And then it sounds like you've kind of taken that to your mindset as well. And you said, hey, let's forget about the cleaning for a second. Like that's relatively easy to teach. It's how do I create a company that, people can really feel appreciated working for me and things like that. So if we can actually dive deeper a little bit into that, can you give some examples of either, whether it's events that you do, maybe it's like, I don't know if you do any like daily huddles or weekly huddles with your employees or do like certain types of SOPs that you have them go them through, but can you walk through a little bit of kind of what happens in the background?
Sure. It continues to grow because the truth of the matter is that I'm always looking for ways to do more for my employees. I'm always looking for ways to keep them engaged and to keep them excited, and even to foster community between them. It's really important for everybody to feel like they're part of the growth of our company, and that they understand that we're going to take them with us. If we're making more money and we've got our bills paid and we've taken care of our growth, like our marketing for growth, my employees don't understand that stuff so much, but in our staff meetings, I let them know, these are the things that I have to take care of, and this is my goal for you. So, last December, I decided that I wanted to give my employees, so in the States, it's like a 401k, like a retirement savings fund. And I announced it in December. I said, guys, I'm going to find a way to make this happen. And here are the things that need to happen. What needed to happen was my employees needed to stop wasting money. My employees were taking the long way to the next job in order to get a few more bucks on their paycheck, or not clocking out when they should be, or leaving jobs early. So now we can't, in vacation rental cleaning, it's different. If they leave early, we cannot bill the client for their time. And so we're losing profit, they're losing income. So I said, if we could just work on these things that will continue to increase our profits and allow us to be more profitable, I'm going to give back to you by having this RSP contribution. And it worked like that. All of a sudden, people stopped cheating the clock. They weren't cheating the clock because they're dishonest. They're cheating the clock because they were not motivated, because they were starting to feel complacent in their job. And, they stopped caring about the same things that we need to recognize in order to grow. So I'm always looking for things to motivate them. And in the beginning, it was as simple as a bonus and an event. We do have mandatory staff meetings. It used to be once a month, mandatory staff meeting via Zoom, that we would actually try to have when the most of our employees were at work. We'd say clock out of the customer's job. We'd inform the customer, staff meeting happening today. You might find that the staff are what's the word? Uninvolved for half an hour. You won't be paying for that time, and we'll make sure that the job gets done. We'd have them clock out of that job, and then we pay them for the half an hour that they're in the staff meeting. That keeps, first of all, it makes it mandatory, so they must show up. If they don't show up at a mandatory staff meeting, it goes against their bonus. But now we have people showing up and hearing what's going on and being more engaged in the business. Then we had every 6 months, we still do it. Every 6 months we have an event. They're getting bigger and bigger, and they're really exciting. I love the events that we have. It started out as a luncheon at a wine vineyard in our area. We're in the vineyard capital of Canada, with just 6 people. And now in September, I think there's 2 things we might do. They have this thing, it's called the Amazing Race Oliver, and that's the town close to the town that we are out of. And it's an amazing race scavenger hunt, and then dinner. Or we might do a cook-off. The idea of the cook-off is that you hire a Red Seal chef, and you rent a commercial kitchen. The Red Seal chef will teach us all a recipe, and then we'll break off into teams and we'll have a cook-off, and the chef will announce the winner. We're like, that's what I want to do.
That sounds amazing.
I can't wait. But we do involve the teams. So we ask them for their vote. And I can't remember what it was they want to do. They want to do something I'm not really excited about, but it doesn't matter.
You do something like this every 6 months, you said?
Yeah.
Okay.
So
gotcha.
Last spring, we just did a luncheon with door prizes and team building games. And our team absolutely loved it. They said it was the best one ever. But my favorite was last year. We ended up going late in October for our team event. And so Halloween, we had a bowling party and we dressed up. And the whole office staff came as the Flintstones. And most of the technicians, we didn't know it, but most of the cleaning technicians showed up as hippies. It was fun. It was so fun. The pictures were awesome too. So always these events, they love them. One time we rented an amusement park for the afternoon. We did go-karts, then we had lunch, like a hot dog. And then we did mini golf, and then we had ice cream for dessert, and that was it. They all got a little $3 plant was their door prize gift, and away they went, and they loved it. Like that cost us about $650. Really not that expensive when you consider these are the things that keep your people coming back for more, keep them involved, keep them excited, and creates less turnover. So you're not spending that money in retraining. Might as well spend it on an event, right? So events and biannual bonuses. And in the beginning, I tried to make those two opposite. So every 3 months, something was happening, either a bonus or an event. And this gave them something to look forward to all the time.
Absolutely. So to backtrack a little bit, I think something important that you said was during your meetings, you are pretty transparent about, the things that your company is going through. Like, hey, we have, this percentage that we have to commit to for marketing expenses. Let's try and reduce our travel time by this. Maybe you're not specific with the actual, dollar amount, so to speak, but you are telling them like, hey, this is how our company runs. This is what we need to be mindful of. So I think that's really interesting. It's not something that's, we typically think about. In fact, I've spoken to some people that are really apprehensive about going into the internal aspects of their business with anyone except their business partner, if that. So how much of an influence do you think that plays in making these people actually feel like they're really part of the company and they're like contributing?
It is so important. When you start to attract the right employees, then you give them your trust. You want them to give you. Wait, you know what I'm trying to say? Sorry, guys. That's a Kerri-ism if you ever heard one. There's Kerri messing it all up. Okay, so it's a give and take with the trust. I want my employees to trust me, and I want to trust them. And the way to do that is by information sharing. Don't keep them in the dark. It used to be, I'd always hear it, you're on a need to know basis. Now that's true. I do keep my employees on a need to know basis for things that will hurt them. If a client calls me and has terrible things to say about an employee, specifically just because that client is a personality match, I'm not calling my employee to tell them. They don't need to know that. When it comes to the growth of the business, of course, they need to know it. They need to know what they're involved in and what the big plan is. It's funny because I have a new office administrator. And yesterday I was talking with her on speaker, and one of our employees came in, and all of a sudden I heard her whispering, and she said, Kerri, I just went away because so-and-so just walked in, and I know you don't want her to know what you charge an hour. I said, what? I said, what we charge an hour is not a secret. We tell the whole world, and of course our employees should know. I mean, there's no reason for them not to know that. Yes, this is what we charge an hour. We charge $50 an hour for vacation rental services and $60 to $75 an hour for commercial services. And everybody should know that in case somebody asks them, hey, what does your company charge an hour? And she said, everywhere I've worked before kept that a secret. And I said, they also know that we had to give a $5 an hour increase back in July in order to give our employees a wage hike. So we increased our rates because of the gas crisis and gave our employees a wage increase. I spoke to them. We had a meeting and we discussed the wage increase, and we came up together with the fact that non-drivers would get less than drivers would get because it wasn't fair to the drivers that the people that they were paying for to get to work were making the same amount of money. We had a team discussion about that, and everybody felt amazing about the wages, about the raises. So I don't see any reason to hide these things from them. The more they know, the more understanding and the less animosity comes from it. So,
right.
I mean, I don't tell them everything, but if you can find it out by asking, like, all they have to do is ask the client, how much do you pay an hour? And they're going to find out. So why be underhanded about it?
Yeah. Just to play devil's advocate, I think the only, because I have heard people say that they were, let's say they don't want to include their cleaners on like a certain booking software that they're using or an invoicing system because it has like the hourly rates, what the job is charged. And I think in their minds, they're thinking that these cleaners might be able to see kind of like what what your company might be profiting from a job and say, oh, wait, I can just leave and do this myself and start my own business. I think that's kind of the fear that they have in their minds. But to kind of solidify your point about being really transparent about everything that your company is doing, I think the more that you can tell your employees about, whether it's struggles or just things to be mindful of, that can also help, let them know that, hey, this business actually takes a lot of work. Like Kerri's doing a crap load of work to keep us with jobs, keep money coming in. So, I do like that approach about just being transparent with them, let them know what you charge, and if you are keeping things a secret from people, there's always going to be that weird thing. There might be a little bit of animosity that's just constantly in the back of their minds. Like, hey, why isn't Kerri sharing these, our how much she charges per job with us? Like, there's always going to be like a weird dynamic, I think.
Yeah, it doesn't hurt. And when you said, yeah, maybe they're going to find out my rates and they're going to go and start their own business. Or, maybe they'll go to the client and say, hey, I know you're paying cap cleaners $50 an hour. I'll do it for 30. Maybe they're going to do that. It's against their contract, but we all know that contracts are just a piece of paper. Honestly, I have had a couple of cleaners who came and learned my processes and then went out and they clean on the side. And one of them is constantly recommended in the community page, Facebook page. And, it stings every time because she used me. She worked with me for a month and a half. And now I realize it was just to learn what I do. However, because of those morals and values, I don't feel like she's any competition to me. She's underhanded and dishonest. And the people that I attract to me for clients and employees generally are exact opposite of that. So she can have the underhanded, dishonest people, let her go. Otherwise, to run a successful cleaning business, like a real professional business, is the hardest thing I've ever done in my life. And for a summer, I cleaned pigeon coops. If you know about pigeon coops, they have the pigeon coop or the pigeon crap is like 6 inches deep and it dries so solid that it's like breaking through plywood.
Is it actually? I don't know if I've ever seen that. Wow.
Well, it's really, really hard work. And actually I injured myself on that job and I'm not better from it. I never will be. It was the hardest job I ever had. But mentally, emotionally, running any business where you have employees it's not for the weary, it takes a special kind of person. So now I don't worry about that stuff. In my area, I'm known as the best in my area, and it's not by accident. It's by hard work and determination and knowing when to seize opportunity and understanding, the employee basis. Suddenly I have vacation rentals calling me saying that they need to get a new company because their current cleaner is having staffing issues. And I'm like, yeah, that's because they don't know how. They should come to me. I'll teach them.
Right.
But so it's let them take what they learn from you and better their lives.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think, and if people are too hung up about, one or two cleaners, let's say, leaving their business and adopting their systems and starting their own thing, like, I guess the other way to think about it would be, but think about all the amazing employees you've gotten from that. Like, not everyone that you hire is probably going to be great for your company, but the net effect is still going to be better than, trying to do everything yourself, assuming, you're actually trying to grow a cleaning business and not just stay a solopreneur, which is totally fine. I think that's actually another thing too, is I see it all the time in some of the groups in our industry where people are, they started hiring employees and they just found it to be way more stressful. They actually prefer just kind of staying a one-man show and doing everything themselves. And they're like, hey, I'm much happier. Like, I have a better relationship with my clients. So I'd actually be interested in your perspective on that. Do you think, based on what you've seen, do you think a lot of people that are, let's say, struggling to hire employees would be better off kind of being solopreneurs? Or do you think that it's just something wrong in their system, whether it's their mindset, like you said, or their hiring systems, or is it really just a combination of both?
Well, I think that if they're asking the question, they don't really want to be a solopreneur. If in their heart they're saying the only reason that I'm not growing my team is because it's too hard, then they should go out and find the system, the program, whatever it is that's going to help them overcome that obstacle. Because being a business owner is about overcoming obstacles, learning how to do it better. So if that's a question, they say, I want to be a solopreneur because I'm happy being a solopreneur. I have enough money. I have everything that I need. I'm happy here. Great. But if it's because you can't find employees, you're sick of employees, they're too hard, find a way to overcome that obstacle. And what bothers me about solopreneurs is that I wonder what happens when they get sick, or somebody they love gets sick, or there's a family emergency. Because this is the way it was for me. There were there for everybody, it happens. There's family emergencies, there's tragedies where you have to decide between your business and your family. And this happened to me a couple of times. And really, honestly, one day I hurt my hip and I was told to be off work for 6 weeks. For the first week I worked anyway, and it wasn't going well. And that was when I realized, are you hearing the background noise? Because I have a bit.
No, you're good.
Interfering? Oh, good.
Yeah.
I realized that I needed a backup plan. If I couldn't be at work, I still needed my income. And that was when I realized I really needed to figure out employee attraction. And up until that point, I had a terrible time with employees. I had terrible employees. I lent my car to an employee and got it back with a crack pipe under the seat. I mean, when I said I had terrible employees, I'm not talking about people who cut corners. I'm talking about absolutely terrible people that were showing up because I didn't know any other way. So what I decided to do was learn another way, because the last thing I wanted to do was go get a job. Like,
Right.
I was working 18 hours, but I didn't want to work for anybody else.
Right.
So I think that if that is the only thing holding you back, then you know what you have to do. You got to learn how to do it right.
Awesome. Well said.
Thank you.
So I wanted to, as we kind of near, like, the end of this interview, which I definitely don't want to cut short because I know we're talking about some valuable things, but I did also want to kind of go into maybe more of the tactical things for people that are, let's say someone's in a position right now where they don't know how to get applicants, or maybe they are in the hiring process right now. So they have like an ad on Indeed or Craigslist or Facebook Jobs or something like that. Maybe they're getting a few applicants per week, or maybe they're getting a lot, but now they don't know how to do the interviews properly. Whatever their situation is, are there maybe like a few things that you can share with that you would just recommend right off the bat, like kind of like a checklist that you usually go off of? And also if this relates to maybe some of the clients that you personally work one-on-one with their cleaning business and hiring systems, like what are some common mistakes that you see? Okay.
So the mistakes, let's start out with where you're looking. Honestly, I've tried them all. I really have. And it keeps coming back to Indeed. So Indeed is my primary source for candidates. It just continues to work. Now, where I'm at, I'm spending quite a bit of money on my employee attraction. It's because of where I'm at in my business. When I first started out with employee attraction, when I had only 6 employees, only 2 of those 6 were employees that I would like to keep, and I did keep for 5 years, but not good employees is what I'm trying to tell you. I started running Indeed ads for free, like just doing their non-sponsored ads. It's a little different depending on where you live, but know this, that in the very beginning, you're going to get amazing amounts of candidates for free because Indeed is trying to get you to like them. So if you're just starting your Indeed account, put an ad out and bring in those candidates and be excited about it. And when you see it starting to drop, that's because now Indeed's going to try and sell you something. That's just the way it works. That's their marketing plan. What I do, a few things to know about running ads for candidates. The best days of the week to run your ad are Sunday to Thursday. The best day of the week to do your interviews is Tuesday, Wednesday. Don't even bother setting up interviews on Monday. I still try it once in a while. It's funny. I'm like, well, Monday's the only day. So I still try it and it's terrible. People don't generally show up on Monday. You know, the people that are really excited about working for you or really need a job will, but you're trying to get a bulk show up rate so that you can pick from your pool. It's like having a net. You're putting your net in the water and bringing up lots of people. You're going to get more on Tuesday than Monday. So honestly, you've got to have more than one interview technique. By that, I mean, I actually have like a 5-step interview process now. But when I started out, it was 3-step interview process. It was a group interview, a one-on-one interview, and an on-the-job interview. On-the-job interview is basically just their first day of work, but I let people know, if you go to your first day of work and you hate it, just let me know, no hard feelings. I don't want to waste my time with somebody who's just sticking around until they find another job or out of some sort of feeling of commitment to me. You know, it's like the first date. If you don't like me on the first date, just tell me so I can go on with my life, right? Generally speaking, like in the last 5 years, I've had 2 people after the first day say this job is not for me. And I was grateful both times. They're not wasting my money.
I'm sure.
And when you run your Indeed job ads, your wage is so very important. And one of the things that's really important is that you give a range, not $12 to $13 an hour, a $5 range. If your starting wage is 12 to 17 per hour, this gives the people the idea that there's growth. There's the opportunity for growth within your business. Also, if you're following my system, you're offering perks and benefits and bonuses. Those all become sort of part of the wage. So my employees, there's $1 RSP match that brings them up by $1. There's the benefits plan. Our benefit is 10%, our bonus is 10% of their wage for every hour worked in the last 6 months. It's a reward. So they don't necessarily always get 10%. That's it's a long conversation. So that's all I'm going to say about it. But that also, like for my $25 an hour people, they could increase their wage by now $3.50 an hour by the RSP contribution and the bonus, right? So that's how I define it when they come to the meeting and they ask me, what is this wage range about? I let them know, well, with the benefits and the perks, you're making quite a bit more money. It opens the conversation for you to let them know about those things. And so not having that, quite often I have clients who are like, I'm not getting candidates. And I say to them, what is your range on your wage? And it's not $5. $5 seems to be the sweet spot. So $5 more than what your starting wage is, and you'll get more candidates.
So you just said a lot of great gems in there. I think what I gathered from that was, out of all the hiring platforms, Indeed is a great one to focus on. Conduct your interviews on Tuesdays and Wednesdays. Do them in a group setting, because no shows is just an inevitable part of the process. So, try and get them in the group setting first. And then after that point, of course, maybe do more of like a personal interview with your applicants. And then having a wage, really a range to have these people see that there's room for growth by being in the company. All right, guys, that will be all for today's interview. If you wish to catch the rest of this video interview, you may do so by joining our Facebook group called Celebrity Maids. The link to join is in the bio. Once you guys get accepted into the group, you can scroll down and you'll see the interview fully live and uncut there. All right, hope you enjoyed this. Make sure you subscribe to the channel if you're not already, and we'll catch you soon.